A lot of experts reckon that whether the ball's hitting the stump flush on or whether it's just flicking the stump and clicking the bail off, you're out both ways. So this whole concept of the 50% error rule on the umpire's call, whether it's pitched 50% in line, impacted 50% in line, or gonna hit the stumps 50% or more, only then the decision goes in favor of the bowler. Uh, in your personal opinion, should that be done away with? Because essentially, if the 5% of the ball hits the stump or 95% of the ball hits the stump, as long as the bail is dislodged, it is out. That is what many of the former cricketers also reckon. And just the overall concept of it, do you feel somehow that we've seen in other sports, they have imbibed technology? Tennis has done so quite successfully. Football, a lot of questions and doubts and weekly debates remain there as well. So as far as cricket is concerned, how do you think that there is definitely is a scope for improvement in the DRS system? And uh, if you were to be given the reins, would you do away with the umpire's call?
Right. Okay. Good question. Very good question. First of all, as you say, all video review systems around the world in different sports are always subject to their own review, because there is still an element of interpretation. So the third umpire's job is not as easy necessarily as people think it should be, but it's very easy to see when they've got it wrong. And you don't need me to tell you, there have been instances in the last few weeks where that implementation, use of it could have been better, could have been improved. Because as soon as anyone says, well, hang on a second, why have you not done this? Or why have you not done this? That causes an issue. Now, that of course is just down, that is down entirely to the cooperation of third umpire and TV director and whatever's available. And there's always room for improvement. What I would say though about this umpire's call thing is this. I understand those that want it to be simpler, in the sense that, if the technology shows you that a ball is hitting the stumps, well, that should be good enough. But I do have a problem with it, because when this came in, let's face it, before DRS, we just had umpires. Umpires could be very, very good. They could be good. They could be indifferent, mediocre, or plain bad. But you just live with that. And how many times had we all been through the situation where we said, "Look, I know that wasn't out." He said, you lose your faith in them because you just disagree. So DRS is designed to take out the sting of all that. And let's face it also, that the standard of umpiring across the entire world, in every continent, in every country, had improved or has improved markedly. And because they've been allowed to learn all about sort of the new things that come into the game. They've had new perspectives given by TV and by things like Hawkeye, and therefore they've been able to basically readjust the meters, as it were, on every decision they make. But my problem is this: if you just make it as simple as people are suggesting now, you'll have 2-day games on the flattest of pitches. It will tilt the whole thing towards the bowler yet more. And it's already affected the techniques of batsmen, especially playing spin. That's very, very obvious to anyone who ever played before DRS and after DRS. Techniques are very different. They have to be, because you have to play more with the bat. So it's none of this for hiding the bat behind the bat stuff, which used to go on in my time, previous generations, even worse. So it's opened that up, which is already good for spin bowlers, and it makes the game more interesting. But I also have this point to make, which is, the umpire is there to do a job on the field, and he is there to make a decision. And I quite like, this might sound outdated, it might sound like a bit of a throwback to previous generation, but I quite like the idea that the umpire's judgment is important. And therefore, he gets the first view of it, his decision. I don't want that decision to be, I don't want them to think up here, well, I don't have to make a decision. I might just go straight to Hawkeye, go straight to DRS. And we just get every decision made by DRS, because that would be horrible. That would be against what I call the feel of the sort of the history, the feel, the ethics of cricket. So I would like him still to have to think really hard, with his conscience fully available, his hand on his heart, say, right, is that to me out or in? And that, I think, is a good thing to have. And therefore, because we know, sorry, excuse me, because we know that Hawkeye is, what is it, 90, somewhere between sort of 97 and 99% accurate, just to account for that 1%, just on the off chance, let's just, I'm actually pretty happy keeping the umpire's cool. And some people might react to me saying, well, that's just a batsman speaking, because I don't be given out and condemned on sort of a quarter of an inch of deviation on a machine that's completely dispassionate, on a piece of electronic wizardry, which then might feel unfortunately unsound. So I still quite like the idea, just to simplify it, that the umpire has an important role to play. And yes, it does look, I mean, it does look confusing when you know that decision made that comes up with umpire's call would have gone the other way with Hawkeye, with DRS, with Eagle Eye, with all these things, if the decision originally had been different. That's what seems strange to people, especially people who don't understand the game. But those that go back a little bit further, I think would understand the concept that the umpire's role is quite important.